If you've ever wondered what it takes to self-publish your own book from beginning to publication date, then you're going to want to listen to today's video. I am going to be talking about my book, Let Us Begin, which is released today, and what it took to get here.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julia Amante. I'm a women's fiction author, and I'm here on Fridays to give you writing tips. Today's a little different. Today I'm actually celebrating the release of my book. It is August 18th, and today is my release day. So today is when my book launches. So I am going to celebrate. I'm going to be having a release party this evening, but I thought I would make this video for you to share in my fun, and also to let you know, like, what is it like actually to release a new book and to self-publish a new book. So for just kind of going back into history, the way that I started writing is the traditional way. And what I did is I sent my manuscripts to publishers. So first I looked for agents. I sent books to both editors at publishing houses like Harlequin, because I was writing romances, and at that time Silhouette, and all these other different publishers that existed at that time. And I also worked on trying to get an agent, and then I sent it out. I ended up getting published. I worked with various different publishers. I worked with Kensington. I worked with Berkeley. I worked with Warner Books, who then turned into Grand Central. So I had a long career working with traditional publishers, and then decided that I wanted to try self-publishing. For a variety of reasons. First of all, it became more popular, right? And I had been working for a long time, had multiple publishers, had multiple agents, and I thought, well, I want to try and do it myself. So I decided to do that. And so I started with, gosh, which one was my first one that I actually self-published? It might have been This Is Now, or That Was Then. That Was Then was my first one that I did on my own. Now I did have, under a different pseudonym, another one that I'd self-published like 20 some years ago, but that's a different story. That was a very different world back then. But now, how challenging is it to create your own book, to publish your own book? It's a lot easier than it used to be. However, it is still challenging. It's a lot of work. So what I would like to do is kind of just share what I did. How did I get here to, to release this book that I'm currently working on, or worked on, and that's currently being released. So it started, of course, like 2 years ago, right, with just writing the book. So somewhere during the whole, lockdown pandemic, I decided to take an idea that I had, which was to I have a bunch of old letters from my grandfather that I have been keeping for many, many years, and it was letters between him and my father back and forth when my father first immigrated to the United States. And I'm just going to move my mouse here a little bit so the computer doesn't shut down on me. But so I took these letters, and I decided that I should do something with them, right? Because they're getting old. They're from, the 1960s and 1970s. They're starting to disintegrate. It's kind of hard. So I should copy them. I should do something with them. Maybe I should write a memoir. I should do something, because the stories were so interesting that both from my grandfather and my father's point of view. And I thought, well, should I write a memoir? I decided not to write a memoir, because the memoir it's a very different animal than what I'm used to doing. I'm used to writing fiction. And so writing a memoir would have been completely different. And though I could have done it, I also decided that it wasn't my story, really. It was the story of of my father as an immigrant to the United States. So I decided I'm going to do what I do best, which is to fictionalize this idea, this story. So I took some of the real things that happened, I wrote them down, and I thought, okay, these are all the different things that happened. These are the things that I got from the letters. These are some things that I got from stories that my mom shared. Some things that I remembered as I once I came on the scene. So obviously before I was born, I had to rely on things from the letters and from my mom's memory, and I had to use those as I saw, right, as needed for the novel, and then what I remembered. So I took some of these events and I thought some of them worked, right? So I wrote them all down. Some of them I thought aren't going to work. Some of them are going to work, because I had to create my plot. So I've talked a lot about creating your plot and saying, okay, well, this is the story of this character. It's really not the story of my father, even though I'm using some of the real information. It's really this character and what's happening with this character. What are these characters' goal? What is this character's goal? What does this character want? Is this character going to achieve his goals, right? So we've talked about that before, right? That your character has to have a goal. Your character has to have this large thing that he wants to achieve. And is he going to achieve it? And if so, how is he going to achieve it? If he's not, what are some of the obstacles that are going to be in his way, right? So all of this, I had to actually create my story from the real stuff. So if you're ever using your real information, real background, real history, you want to fictionalize it, you don't have to use everything, obviously. You're just using whatever is useful for your novel, for your story. So that's what I did. And once I had decided on what I was going to use, what I wasn't going to use, I started to write. Now, so the writing takes however long the writing takes, right? So for me, I would say it took me maybe 6 to 9 months to actually write the story. Then starting, I had a goal of finishing it at the end of 2022. I was going to be done with the writing. So in 2023, well, really December. Honestly, I think I was actually editing around November, December. I was editing it. Yeah, definitely I was editing it. I had to find, so what do you do as a self-publisher? You have to find an editor. So I was finished writing the multiple drafts. Okay, so I was finished with my first draft way before that. So probably, summer of 2022, I was finished with it. And then I started my editing process. First thing you need to do is find an editor. You do need an editor because you're going to miss a lot. The editor is going to catch all kinds of things. You can have different types of editors, and I have had videos. In fact, I've had interviews with editors in the past that you can search for. And the editor will catch things that you don't want to keep, that you don't see. If you hire a developmental editor, they can look at the story. Does it make sense? Do you have holes in your plot that need to be fixed? I didn't think that I needed a developmental editor. However, because this is a different type of story than I normally write. Normally I'm writing more romantic type stories. This is not a romantic story. And I'll tell you a little bit about it in a second. I found my editor, right? And I found an editor that would do everything. Look at it developmentally, also look at things like sentence structure and a little bit of the kind of the copywriting type of stuff where they're looking at the actual spelling, language, grammar, all of that. So once it went through the editor was the end of last year, end of 2022. And then starting in December and January, I had to go through it again. So I went through it, probably this is going to be my 5th time. Then I went through it again, my 6th time. And I ended up with about 7 drafts of this novel, where I went through it even after the editor. I ran it through things like Grammarly. Why? Because even an editor will miss certain things. You could have a second editor too. You can have one that focuses on things like your sentence structure and spelling and things like that. I was pretty comfortable with my editor and what she had already caught and the feedback that I got from her, but I ran it through Grammarly. It caught more things that I missed, that she missed. So, you can never go through enough. there may still be things in here that we didn't catch. I hope not at this point, but we went through it so many times. So once you do that, once it's edited, once you're happy with all that, during all this time too, so probably I would say back in January, February also, I contacted my cover designer. So if you don't have a cover designer, this is something you would want to do even earlier. So now just think about this is publication date of August 2023. I'm working on all the stuff at the beginning of the year, so I'm 8 months ahead, right? So you need to have a lot of time to do all this. I contacted the cover designer. I started sending her ideas of what I would like. I already knew the name of the book and all of that. I'd already decided that long ago. And I had to write the back cover copy because, of course, that needs to be done as well, right? So you need the back cover copy. I contacted, I'd already purchased ISBNs. You don't have to have an ISBN if you don't want to, especially if you're going to publish with Amazon or you're going to publish with Barnes and Noble, or just digitally. Most publishers will actually give you that. So like Amazon will give you your own. I like to have my own ISBN because that way it's consistent throughout. If a bookstore wants it, if a library wants it, it's the same ISBN. So I purchased ISBN, so I have a lot of them that I'm going to use throughout the next few years. But I had to give her that so that she could put it, have the ISBN, the back cover copy. That takes time, believe it or not. It takes a lot of time to figure out exactly how you're going to describe an entire novel on the back of your book. Again, this is back in January, February. During the same time, I also thought, well, am I going to need a publicist? I did interview a couple of publicists, and I thought, I honestly don't have the money to do that because that can get very, very expensive. So I had to create my own marketing plan. What am I going to do? How am I going to market this? What bookstores do I want to maybe do signings at? Where am I going to go? I live in California most of the time, so makes sense to do a lot of things in California. So my first plan for this half of the year is to stay in California, do a few things, though I may go elsewhere as well. What conferences do I want to go to? So I had to create this whole marketing plan. Again, takes a lot of time. So as I'm reviewing and re-editing my book, March, April, I'm also planning my marketing strategy. I'm also doing all kinds of things like updating my website. So my website, really, I just updated it not too long ago. So I already had a website. If you don't have a website, you need a website. And so I spent some time updating my website back in May, so not too long ago. What else do you have to do? Create things like this nice little board here, because if I'm going to do signings, it's nice to have something to put on your table so that, readers that are coming in are seeing you. I also created a nice little poster here that I can have at events as well. So buying that kind of stuff, bookmarks to give out to readers. I redid my business card. So these are all promotional marketing things that you have to do as your book is still being created, right? If you don't have a way to distribute your novel. So as a self-publisher, that's your job, is distribution. How are the readers going to get your book? So that is something that I had taken care of because I'd already done previous books. So I already knew who my distributor was going to be, but you have to upload your novel. First of all, you have to reformat it. So it has to be formatted for Amazon. It has to be formatted for Barnes and Noble. It has to be formatted for your distributor. And then once it's formatted into various, EPUBs and all the different formats, some PDF, then you're ready to upload it, right? You can upload it to Amazon, you can upload it to Barnes and Noble, you can upload it to your distributor's website, and then they will distribute it to multiple, like to Kobo and to Apple, all the different readers, electronic readers that readers where they like to read books, Google. So you do need to find a distributor. If you don't have one, since I already had one, I just really needed it to upload it. And then again, the formatting takes time. All of this takes a lot of time. This is why you need the 8 months. It sounds like I work on my novel every single day for hours and hours, probably 6 to 8 hours a day, I am working on things that I need to do, contacting bookstores, contacting book clubs and reader groups, doing speaking events. And again, as you're doing this, you're also still working on, still editing, still working on the book. What do you want to have a dear reader type of thing in your book? What else do you want to do? Uh, Also, you should think about what else are you going to do? Are you going to write a next book while all of this is going on? So the last 8 months have been very, very difficult for me to write, but I've continued to think about my next story book, but I haven't started writing. Usually by now I have started writing. I've started writing a second book. This time I haven't because I focused so much on the marketing aspect of the book. So this gives you just a very small idea, a little preview of what it takes to create a book, to be a self-publisher, and gives you maybe something to think about. Do you really want to do it? So if you want, it's not just like writing a book and uploading it to Amazon. There's so much that goes on before that happens. And so I have created actually a course on how to publish traditionally versus self-publishing, and you're welcome to take a look at that. You're welcome to take a look at some of my old videos as well, because I do talk about publishing every once in a while. Mostly I'm talking about writing, but sometimes I do talk about publishing. And if you have questions, definitely ask me questions in the comment section of this video, and I would be happy to answer your questions. But just a little bit about my novel, since today is release day. Once I decided on creating a fictional novel based on these old letters, I decided I had to think about, well, what is the story really about, right? What is this story about? It's about this young man who comes to the United States to do what, right? If I looked at my father's real dreams, his dreams were to become a success, right? To come to this country, live the American dream. He never intended to stay forever. He really just was more of an adventure. He wanted to come here, he wanted to be successful, then he wanted to return home where he had his parents and he had his brother and he had his family. But years passed and he ended up staying forever. He stayed until he died. So he stayed here his whole life, started a family and all of that. So it became a little harder for him to leave. But one of the questions that I always had is, how difficult is it really to achieve the American dream? Not only for immigrants, but, specifically for immigrants, because that's who my dad was, right? And this character is. But for everyone, how difficult is it? And then what can prevent you from achieving your dreams, your goals? How important are choices and decisions that you make in your life to the success you're going to have? Are there certain points, turning points in your life when those decisions are bigger than you think, right? So we all have decisions every single day that we make, but there are certain turning points in our lives when, if you look back and you think, if I had made a different decision right here, my whole future would have been different. It would have been a different life. And how important are those? And do you know that they're important when you're making those decisions? So these were some questions that I wanted readers to have, and that I wanted the book to kind of cover, right? That I wanted my character to go through these turning points in his life and then show how these were important. So he makes some good decisions, he makes some poor decisions, and how do they affect his life and his ability to actually be successful. But it's really a story right about him and him working towards his dream. There's also, heavy themes of marriage. How does your marriage in love, right? How does that change over time? Obviously, when you first meet someone, you're totally in love. So his wife actually follows him to the United States because she's so in love with him and wants to have a life with him. But how does that get impacted over time as well, right? As life progresses, how does that love infatuation change over time, and what causes it to change? So again, I'm a women's fiction author. I love looking at all the different issues that affect women and affect life and affect men too, because he's the main character here. And so that's what this novel covers. It's really just a story of him and the struggles to achieve the American dream. It's got some, some intense parts. It's got some sad parts, but overall, I hope it's sort of an uplifting book that I mean, the reader can look at it and say, yeah, there's some, that's life, right? There are some bad things that can happen. There are some good things that can happen. But hopefully, overall, it can be, life can be kind of uplifting. It just depends on how you look at life and how you look at things. So I invite you to go take a look at the book. Again, it was a long journey for me to get here, and so I'm really happy and proud to present it to my readership. And I invite you to go and become my readers as well. Go to Amazon. I'll add some links in the comment section or the notes section below where you can find the book, and let me know what you think after you read it. Leave comments here. Leave comments on Amazon. Reviews are wonderful for writers. So please go there and leave your reviews. And thank you for following me here, for checking out my videos, and I look forward to going back to talking about just writing in general next week, and I hope you'll join me. Bye bye.